And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration.
In this video, we're going to be having a look at a homeless charity sticking its nose in where I personally think it's unneeded. Now, it's in regards to the Tories that have come through and said that they're going to open up the homeless shelters and the sheltered accommodation for the rough sleepers this winter. I'm not too sure if you're aware, but the forecast is it's going to be an extremely cold winter this time. So, as you can imagine, I'm actually quite happy that they're opening these up, because without them, there's going to be a lot of people in a very bad way on the streets. And this is coming from personal experience. Winter is a horrible time to be on the streets. All time is a horrible time to be on the streets, but winter especially. Winter can kill you. Now, it's not the Tories opening up the homeless shelters that the article is actually about. The article is actually titled, COVID, bid to reopen homeless night shelters criticised. Yep, you heard that right. We'll get into this and you'll find out who's criticised, and you'll be surprised who it is, to be honest. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, put it on all, and that way you'll be notified whenever there's a new video for you. Then you shouldn't miss any. And for anyone that isn't new, like and comment, everyone. I do appreciate it. Share it out if you want to help the channel grow. That would help me out tenfold. But anyway, let's get into this, shall we? A homeless charity has criticised government plans to allow communal night shelters for rough sleepers to reopen this winter. Yep, you heard that right. A homeless charity is saying that they can't allow homeless people into communal night shelters over the winter, even though they know that this winter is going to be devastating to them. Can you guess why at this point? Go on, I'll give you a couple of seconds to guess. Should we read on and find out? Ministers are due to publish safety guidance on Tuesday detailing how the shelters closed earlier this year due to Lurgate could reopen if required. What the Tories have actually done as well is give an extra £10 million to the local councils in England to provide additional accommodation, individual accommodation for them. But the charity, the homeless charity Crisis, said the funding, falls short of the bold action we need. Now apparently, 18 charities and health and homeless organisations warned last week that social distancing in shelters would prove all but impossible. They're worried that without more funding for councils, people will be forced into communal accommodation with a higher risk of transmission. Should we just have a quick look at what's going on with the homeless? Let's just have a quick look at this, shall we? So this is the breakdown of age brackets for our homeless. I mean, this was a couple of years ago, so it isn't up to date, but you can only imagine it's going to be roughly the same. So we've got in 5th place, with not many, is 65 and overs, who definitely need to get off the streets over winter. Then you've got, what's next? 45 to 64 year olds. Then next up is 16 to 24 year olds, and then the vast majority of people that live on the streets are between the ages of 25 to 44. Now, as we all know, 16 to 24 have 99.99999% chance of not even having any effects whatsoever. In regards to the 25 to 44, unless you've got an underlying health issue, no problems whatsoever. 45 to 64, unless you've got an health issue, no problems whatsoever. And 65 and over, exactly the same, unless you're getting up to the 82, I think it is the average age for people that are succumbing to the lurgy. Now, that's compared to the cause of death for homeless people. 40% accidents, 25% other, 13% suicides, 9% liver disease, coronary heart disease, 6%, cancerous tumours, 4%, and influenza and pneumonia, 3%. Pay attention to the influenza and pneumonia. That's 3% of all deaths for homeless are because of one of the two. Yet they want to keep them all on the streets throughout winter for the fear of catching lurgy, which has a 99.9999% chance of survival. You see what the issue is here? And this is a charity. These are charities that are supposed to care about out the homeless. I mean, this is homeless veterans aside as well. We have a major issue in regards to that. In regards to 65-year-olds living on the streets, that is ridiculous. It should never happen, that one. Surely there is space for those people, considering they're in the at most at risk bracket. In regards to the rest, should it not be up to the people living on the streets whether they want to go and find warmth? This is absolutely disgusting in my opinion. Now, they also have not long ago received quite a fair bit of money, these charities and homeless groups. So you've got the council in England are now set to receive 10 million under the Cold Weather Fund, which was set up in 2018, and that's to help provide emergency accommodation. So they've had 10 million for that. Faith and community groups will also receive 2 million to help provide more individual emergency accommodation. Fair enough. The government has said this is on top of, are we ready, the 3.7 billion in funding earlier this year, which councils could put towards homeless services among other areas. Obviously that didn't happen. So they've had plenty of capital to be able to make these places safer, if that's what's such a big issue. I actually suspect this is more down to politics, but there you go. Now, John Sparks, who is the chief executive of Crisis, has urged the government to see sense on this. See sense, this is what he said. He also said, back in March, the government rightly decided that night shelters and hostels were not a safe environment for people during the pandemic. It is completely unacceptable that this approach should now change as we go into winter when the threat remains the same. The threat from winter is a lot worse than the threat from the lurgy, you fool. See, buffoons like this, it makes you think it can't be this stupid, can it? It can't be this stupid. So it must be political motivation or a narrative or something along those lines, which makes that whole sentence, whole statement corrupt, does it not? We must not force people to choose between freezing on the streets or a shelter when both needlessly put lives at risk. Let's see what he's suggesting as a replacement for it, shall we? He added, council should instead get the crucial funding required to provide all rough sleepers with self-contained accommodation. Are we just going to throw this up in like days, seconds? We don't have pop-up houses, you know, you fool. You can't just go out to B&Q and get yourself a blow-up house either. See what I mean about this? Where does he think this housing's going to come from? We've had a housing issue for a long, long time, have we not? And yet this idiot thinks that we can miraculously turn up individual shelters for homeless we've not been able to do for the last 30 years. See what I mean about these charities? They're ignorant fools, aren't they? Now, they've already had 10 million plus 2 million on top of 3.7 billion. So what more do they want? Really? Exactly. But anyway, I'd like to know your opinion on this. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that's on top of the fact that we've got so many homeless veterans, which is, even if there's one, is a blight and a shame and a black mark on the British government until they fix it, to be honest. We should never treat our military with the disrespect of allowing them to live on the streets. Not when they put their lives, duty, families, futures on the line for us. It's an absolute disgrace. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share it out, everyone. Make sure you comment, because I'd like to know your opinion on this. Stay safe, stay sane. If you can, throughout the winter, help out the homeless as much as you possibly can. It would really go down a huge amount. I know a lot of them are in real bad situations, but we shouldn't let that deter us. Christmas spirit and all that. Look after yourselves. See you on the next one.